The New York Times is carping about the cost of the Queen's funeral today. It's also identifying the Queen with a lowercase q. But, isn't it interesting? There's one funeral in 70 years. There's a presidential inauguration, which must cost a pretty penny, every 4 years. When we start adding those up, which is costing more? I, I think carping about the cost of the Queen's funeral is missing the point. The Queen represents Britain, number one. And number two, she has led an extraordinary life, and it would be extraordinarily churlish of us not to recognise that. I know that Prince Charles is aiming for a cut cost coronation. But I think, again, that probably would be a mistake. This is a piece of theatre that defines the reign. Just as the Queen's reign was inaugurated with a coronation of staggering expense, actually, at the time, it brought the nation together. And it ushered in a reign which has been extraordinarily unifying and extraordinarily defining of our age. King Charles's reign should be similarly defined and bookended by a coronation and a funeral. In much the same way as papal reigns are defined by, well, they used to be defined by a coronation and a funeral, now they're defined by a rather strange inaugural mass and a resignation. But it is much the same sort of thing. And that opportunity for the world to come together to salute this very lonely and this very lonely life of service, I think is right. I think it's absolutely right. Republicanism is a very small voice in the UK. It's a bigger voice in the USA. It defined the USA, after all. But I gave an interview the other day to a Turkish newspaper, an interview which I believe is going to be published on Monday mornings. I'm looking forward to seeing that, though my Turkish is almost non-existent. So I shall rely on my partner to translate it. But the newspaper was particularly interested in Republican sentiment in the UK at the moment. And I don't think Republican sentiment has got any bigger during the Queen's reign than it was at the beginning of the Queen's reign. It's a sort of modest 10% or so. And for the most part, we are not so much fervently monarchist, but slightly indulgently apathetic. And that is our British character, indulgently apathetic. We like the reality as it is. We don't like change. I must say, when I think of it like that, I am more British than I ever thought I was. And I dislike change intensely. I dislike travel. I have to do more of it than I would like to do, but I like to stay in one place. I don't even really like going out. I certainly don't consider it a joy to be made to tour around places. Tourism bores the pants off me. But yes, indulgently apathetic. And it takes quite a lot of effort to become a Republican. And I don't think that effort is there, that will is not there in the UK. And looking at the queues that are building up to salute Her Majesty's coffin in Westminster Hall, I think actually quite on the contrary. When stirred, our indulgent apathy moves towards monarchy rather than away from it. It moves towards that icon of our British identity. I think we are more likely to wrap ourselves in the Queen than we are to wrap ourselves in the flag, bluntly.